All right, trying out a video form of the little disclaimer intro, just splicing it in at the beginning. Let me know if you liked that or if it was stupid. No audio on that version, but I have versions with audio. I've been experimenting. We'll see how stuff goes. But yeah, we're here with the third stream of the day because, of course, we are. This time around, we're going to be looking at a video from, let me go on and get it pulled up here and double check everything's copacetic. It is Intelligent Design, Science or Faith. Kent Hovind, video uploaded by Compass International, was uploaded 3 years ago, but this is actually a 2006 Hovind video from May of 2006, it looks like. So just at 19 years ago, which also means this is right before his arrest for tax evasion. And I looked at a little bit of this, and some of it seems interesting enough to cover and see what we get. But I have a feeling there's not going to be too much crazy in here. But at the same rate, it'll prove interesting to see one of his last presentations before his prison time, and then him coming out and becoming the mess of a person he was. This was him at his peak. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what we actually get from this. That being said, I don't think I have much of anything else as far as preamble goes. Let's just get right to it. I've jumped slightly ahead in the video to skip the intro by the group Compass International. One, I think they use some music that might get me copyright flagged, and two, it's really irrelevant. We're just here for the Hovind. Let's do this.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here, and good to finally meet Brother Hummer. I have to check this out. Humber. Check this out in just a minute, brother. Honor to meet you. And Bill, I taught school 15 years. I've told him a million times not to exaggerate, but it is an honor to be here. My name is Kent Hovind. I was a high school science teacher 15 years, and now for the last 17 years, I've been an evangelist doing seminars on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs.
Remember, at this point, he just taught high school 15 years, then high school science. This is before it started to be math, economics, music, quantum physics, everything.
And I spoke here at this church about 3 or 4 years ago. How many been to one of our seminars before or have seen one of our videotapes? Okay, how many never have? And how many do not understand the question so far?
The same joke he made today. I would say never change, Kent, but obviously for at least 3 decades, if not longer, you've been the same as always. So, don't think that's a big concern.
Good. Well, I don't like anybody sneaking up on me, so I won't sneak up on you. I believe the Bible is the infallible, inspired, inerrant word of the living God. I believe it from cover to cover. I even believe the cover on mine. It says Kent Hovind. I believe that. All right, now.
Grammatically, that's actually weird to say. So you believe it contains the text on it, Kent Hovind, which would be accurate. So it's an accurate belief. But what does it mean to have that text on there? And really, and I'm not asking, literally, it's rhetorical. I know it's obviously, personalized, which I don't quite get that. I think that's kind of, crossing a line. But then again, I'm not the leader of some crazy cult back 2,000 years ago, so whatever. But I mean, I don't know, Kent. It's weird to say. You think it's cute. It just comes off weird. I don't know.
This is not my wife. That's just a picture of her.
Oh, it's not your wife anymore, Kent. And oh man, you gotta make those jokes too. And I've said before, it's different when you're traveling, so everyone gets a fresh experience with your shitty jokes. But you have yet to understand that doing video work online is not the same as traveling to a different place. You're reaching the same audience every time. So they'll all have heard everything you had to say ad nauseum. You have not adapted to that. You cannot change what you're saying to fit the context, to fit the fact that this is an online audience. You know, when Seth Andrews, Matt Dillahunty, and Aaron Ra did the Unholy Trinity tour, Unholy Trinity Down Under, and the like, they had their speeches prepared that they gave at multiple locations, and some of the videos are even splicings of those multiple presentations of it, you know, here, there, everywhere. But they didn't proceed to go on and make their next 500 videos those same presentations over and over. They moved on to something new. All you do is run your script every single time. But this is back in 2006, and while you do run your script regularly in the past, at this point in your life, in the future, it's always your damn script. This one is potentially a little different because you say this is a new presentation. Now, it'll be old to us by now, but let's see the seeds of whatever we see today being sown here.
We live in Pensacola, Florida, what's left of it after all the hurricanes. I have 3 kids, 1 of each. Got them all married and the dog died, so I made...
His name's part of the title because they want to show who presented this. It's a standard thing, like, oh, this is a presentation from Kent Hovind because it's from Compass International. They're like, oh, we have Kent Hovind here, and we have Pastor number 5 over here doing this, and we have, you know, this guy bumming money off the street. That's just the nature of it.
I'm home free, and so far 4.2 grandkids. And for those that don't know yet, grandkids are God's reward for not killing your own kids when you thought about it.
And the fact that people laugh at that so willingly, that's fucked up to say, Kent. That is really fucked up to say.
Quite an interesting tribe. They all live right next door to me and all work in our ministry. And then my daughter's husband, Paul, after they were married 4.5 years, just died 2 months ago at our house with cancer, so I'll be praying for her. My daughter...
If only the prayers worked before, you know, nature took its course. Also, let's note the fucking shit-eating grin on, what's his name, Eric back here. But yeah, yep, working in the ministry, everyone loves, oh, it gets cancer. And I don't want to seem like I'm picking on, you know, the dude for, you know, that happening. But it's just the fact that that so obviously demonstrates how fucked up everything is. With a continuous belief that God protects everyone and everything, but then shit like that happens, and so they have to be like, well, he was just calling him home. What the fuck is that shit? How does that make sense? Oh, right, if you're delusional enough, everything makes sense. Except for anything that actually does make sense, in which case that makes no sense whatsoever to you. I mean, seriously, just look at the vacant faces on everybody. That's the other thing, the 1,000-yard stare going on of people who are just so clouded by this stuff. I noticed it in high school. People just had that look about them. Very unsettling. Hated it.
Daughter, Marlissa, on the far left-hand side there. Anyway, intelligent design. Bill always gives me a new topic that I don't normally speak on so that he can sell more tapes. I understand. I know what's going on, okay, Bill? But I had a lot of fun putting this one together. This is my first time. You guys get to be the guinea pigs. Intelligent design. Is it science or faith? A few months ago, I guess I spoke in Dover, Pennsylvania, not far from here, where they had the big...
Mark with a super chat of £1 Great British Pound. Thank you, comrade. It will go great, it will go a great way towards, oh no, the cat's getting snacks? They're Soviet cats. Totally.
Deal on trying to get intelligent design into the schools. I called all the school board members some time ago before this all went to court, before it really came to a head in court. I said, guys, I appreciate your zeal. I'm thrilled for what you're trying to do, but I think...
Yeah, Kent just said it so matter-of-factly. But then again, I am the kind of person who could deliver such matter-of-factly and keep on going. However, given the couple of incidents I've had to mention in streams, either in the past or things that had actually happened recently in the form of loss, you see that I do break down some. So my humanity goes through, even as much as I can, be clinical about things. But Kent, he doesn't care at all. I've never seen him show any care for anyone, ever.
I think you're fighting the wrong war. We should not be trying to get intelligent design into the schools. We should not try to get creation into the schools. We should not try to get evolution out of the schools. We should get lies out of the textbooks. If the lies are taken out of the textbooks, there is nothing left to support the evolution theory. I spoke at the University of West Florida one time for...
Oh, yeah, look, step back just a hair.
Taken out of the textbooks, there is nothing left to...
I mean, look at the brain trust we got right there. Remember, half the people you see on screen right now probably no longer exist. At least two of them I can think of right off the bat.
Support the evolution theory. I spoke at the University of West Florida one time for probably 2 hours on lies in the textbooks.
Yeah. And about 16 years later, R would tear that shit apart.
And this one professor said, well, if you want to take all these things out of the textbooks, what are you going to replace it with? Excuse me?
And again, they laugh at that. See the brain dead insanity going on here? Just so disturbing. Yeah, because we're trying to educate people. So if you're replacing X, Y, and Z information arbitrarily or for actual reason, in this case arbitrarily because you don't agree with reality, then you would need to put something in the place. Otherwise, there's a big old gap in what someone will learn. But watch where Kent spins this.
I said, folks, what he's trying to not say is, you know, we want the kids to believe this theory. We have to give them some evidence, and all we have is lies. And if you take away our lies, what are we going to tell them? Well, then that's your problem for picking a dumb theory. Don't blame me, okay?
YouTube doing that thing. Kent, that's in no way, shape, or form what was being said there. But, of course, you have the reading comprehension of a kindergartner and the situational awareness of a freaking 2-year-old, so...
Let's define a few words.
And the social skills of a 1.5-year-old who still shits his pants.
Here. Intelligent. Having intelligence, having a high degree of intelligence, mentally acute, showing a sound judgment and rationality. Design. To conceive or fashion in the mind, to invent. Number 3, to plan out in systematic, usually graphic form. To create or contrive for a particular purpose or effect. The goal or purpose. Design always indicates a designer, okay? Science.
Wow, he was stroking out there.
Straight from dictionary.com. The observation, identification, description, experimental investigation, and theoretical explanation of phenomena. Number 6 is the most common definition. Knowledge, especially that gained through experience.
No, that's just the one that you're able to manipulate so well. I mean, let's look at the others. Such activities restricted to a class of natural phenomena. Such activities applied to an object of inquiry or study. Methodological activity, discipline, or study. I've got packing a suitcase down to a science. An activity that appears to require study and method. The science of purchasing. There's others kind of important too in rounding out the understanding of what the word actually is. Stupid Chrome.
Number 7.
And I should add that definitions really kind of don't matter because it doesn't change what reality actually is, Kent.
6 is the most common definition. Knowledge, especially that gained through experience. Religion, faith. Belief in and reverence for a supernatural power or powers regarded as creator and governor of the universe. I do a daily radio program every day. That would be daily. 4:30 to 6 Central Time.
A radio program daily? Not no more, you don't. Now it's a shitty YouTube... shitty multicast garbage. If Rush Limbaugh was still around, he might syndicate you. But he did. Another super chat from Mark for 2 British Browns. British pounds. Appreciate you all more than you know. We love you too, man. You and that dog. And your friend's dog. Seriously. If you're not in the Discord and you're not appreciating Mark's doggo pics, what's wrong with you? That's like a secondary mascot to the server. We got echidnas and we got Mark's dog.
Time on the internet. You go to drdino.com and listen in. Anybody can listen in, call in the questions at Central Time, 4:30 to 6. And we start off
Phenomena. Do.
the program by saying, I believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and the evolution theory being taught in our schools is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of planet Earth. And that usually lights up the phone lines for the rest of the program. I've done 100 debates now against atheists and universities and stuff like that. The guys are a lot smarter than me, but I slaughter slaughter them because I'm right and they're wrong, you know. The Bible says in Romans chapter 1, the invisible...
You can't just declare yourself the winner, right? You understand that. Also, your debates are ridiculous. Even the major people, they shouldn't have wasted their time with you. But at that time, the scientific community still didn't realize how ridiculous shit was going to get.
Visible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. They are without excuse. But because when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Is there an intelligent designer behind this universe? Well, this is, as far as I know, the world's largest rock group. If you know of a larger one, let me know. But the textbooks don't like to talk about design. I like to ask evolutionists. I say, guys, do you think there's any chance that these faces appeared on this rock by chance?
No, because we know that they were engineered. We know they were constructed. We have the documentation thereof. And additionally, structures of that intricate detail in that particular exact arrangement don't seem to happen naturally. Which you'll go, but then other things don't. No, they do. You want to contrast the natural with something artificial. And even here, you're doing the same thing. However, incidentally, there are plenty of things out there, natural, that will appear to be faces because of a phenomenon called pareidolia, where we recognize that in there. We tend to see faces and stuff. We tend to find agency in things. It's well documented and is the explanation for all kinds of shit, including the origin of religion.
Do you think the wind could have done that? Abrasion or thermal expansion of the rock, or maybe exfoliation? Let's say, no, Hovind, that was designed by a guy named Borglum. It took him a long time to build it. Then I'll say, now guys, since they believe in evolution, I'll say, you don't believe there's any chance George Washington's face could appear on that rock by chance? They'll say, no. I say, now, do you believe George Washington himself, with 50 trillion cells in his body, each cell more complicated than a space shuttle, and all of these cells producing systems that are all interlocking and interweaving with each other, do you think George Washington happened by chance? No.
George Washington didn't just spawn magically out of nowhere. What the fuck are you asking that question for? I'm trying to be good on this one, but I'm just going to say it. Kent, that question is retarded. Yep, it is a tart that has been made tart again. So like the Queen of Hearts and Alice in Wonderland would be like, no, we only do one tart here, not retarted stuff. Yeah. How about skirting stuff? Yeah. Oh no, just being stupid.
So yeah. Wait a minute. You don't think his face could appear on a rock by chance, but you do think his whole body could appear by chance. I said, are you dumb in any other area?
We see Kent being an asshole even before prison. What a piece of shit you are, Hovind. Always have been, always will be. Are you dumb? Not dumb in any area, because you don't even know your Bible worth a fuck.
It had to be design. But notice the textbooks very rarely use the word design. This textbook says,
because it's not designed.
Are plants adapted to their environment? Adapted. It says gills are an adaptation to living in water. An adaptation? Why don't they say they're designed?
Oh no, Zoomy. Back in these days, those were accurate numbers, roughly. It was legitimate, he counted each debate interaction. At this time. So this is back, because he was only, he's only up to 100 and he'd been doing this since like 1990. That's reasonable. But now his, in a 10-year span inflated to like 382 or whatever, is every little internet interaction is now a debate. So back then, though, those were actual numbers.
For living in water. Well, because then some kid's going to say,
At least, I'm presuming he's not outright lying on them. But at this point, I think he was a little more honest in those regards than he is now.
Who's the designer? They don't want that question coming up in school. By the way, if gills are adapted for living...
It's a loaded question. That's why the word design isn't used, because it brings along a lot of presumptions that are very much incorrect.
In water, how did the fish live before they adapted the gills? Well, you see, boys and girls, for millions of years, they all died. None of them survived. Until one of them finally...
Yeah, not how anything worked and not how anyone says anything worked. And your reductions to absurdity hold no value here. You're just showing how stupid you are, Kent.
Finally figured this out. Yeah. See, the problem is design demands a designer. And people reject the creation idea because it comes...
Okay, so I knew they never finished Rushmore because it was supposed to be full proper busts. The Depression pretty much saw that. But I didn't know Lincoln's face was never fully chipped out. I'll have to look into that. Be interesting to see where they just stopped.
Comes with baggage like a creator. I have a Casio databank stopwatch. It holds 150, mine holds 300 phone numbers. It's a calculator, a stopwatch, an alarm clock, a countdown timer. It does not tell time. I have to look at it. But pretty amazing. $70 at Walmart. Is there any chance this watch could have happened by chance?
Oh no, Kent. Probably not, given that watches are not natural. Don't cough.
Now, I was in Japan a couple years ago preaching over there. Talk about crowded streets. They have a button on their dash. I said, what is that button for? He said, oh, that pulls the mirrors in. I said, why? He said, wait till we get on the highway, you'll see. I mean, this aisle's a 4-lane highway in Tokyo. I mean, it's incredible, you know. I couldn't believe it. No wonder they're so small over there. But,
good old racism. And one would say that's not racist, Chris. It's like, no, given Kent's background, given his daddy, yeah, he's being a racist prick. Also, this motherfucker gets to go to Japan and shit, but I don't get to go anywhere. There's proof there's no God right there. Someone who actually appreciates most of the rest of the world. There's a few spots I don't really care for. Just being honest. I don't care to go to. Meanwhile, this fucker gets to go wherever. On a side note, I'm lucky I found this video. I was looking for defending Kent Hovind to see if I found some weirdo trying to defend him as just a fun secondary thing to react to. And I found him speaking at some Slavic church in 2016. And I was going to go through that, but it was just like, no, there's nothing of value here, even if it is right after Prison Kent. And then I find this right before Prison Kent, and I'm like, oh, thank you. The World Wide Web of the internet has graced me with something incredible.
but the back of my watch says, made in Japan. I looked all over. I never did see the guy.
With parts made in Japan. Secret, I got a secret.
That made the Casio databank stopwatch. Now, the fact that I never saw him should prove he doesn't exist, right? No. You don't have to see the designer to believe he exists. The watch itself is proof of a watchmaker. That's all you
Yes, because watches are artificial objects.
need. See, a painting testifies there was a painter. The building is proof there was a builder. Whether you ever meet the guy or not doesn't matter, okay? The watch is proof of a watchmaker, and creation is evidence of a creator. Design demands a designer. And it is perfectly intelligent to believe there's a...
Things that are designed are known to be designed because they're artificial objects. Appearance of design is not something being designed. That's another side effect of pareidolia. It's pareidolia all the way down, baby.
Designer. Isaiah chapter 1, it says, come now, let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. It's reasonable to believe the Bible. 2 Timothy chapter 3, all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, reproof, correction, instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, truly furnished unto all good works. Is it reasonable and intelligent to believe that? Is it reasonable to... Here the Bible is claiming to be perfect. Now, if you have a book...
What a surprise. Magic book that claims to be the answer to all questions and the story of the entire universe claims to be perfect. Why wouldn't it? What kind of book that's supposed to be the unbound wisdom of everything would say, oh yeah, I'm totally full of shit though, don't believe me.
Book that claims to be flawless. Is it reasonable to believe a book could be perfect? Well, let's define a few positions here. The Bible teaches 6,000 years ago...
No, both of us to the north. Both of us to the north. It's just, I'll be the only one returning.
God made everything in 6 days. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Based on that, we can make a few predictions. I predict the universe will show evidence of order and intelligent design. The Bible says it was designed. I believe it should show that. The Bible says in 6
Hi, those aren't predictions, Kent. That's not how that works. It's not how any of that works.
days, the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is. Well, based on that, we can make some predictions.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I mean, if I'm in the area, I'd go take a look at it, but knowing, just, yeah, it pains me to know what happened with Mount Rushmore.
The universe will show design, and there will be symbiotic relationships. Because everything was made in 6 days, we can have certain plants that require certain animals, and certain animals that require certain plants, symbiotic relationships.
No, you're right, Mark. It's straight up fucking psychos everywhere. Welcome to America. You got your Bible and your gun. You'll need both of them.
The very first debate I ever did, University of West Florida, they called me. I'd been in town for about 6 months, writing letters to the editor in the paper, and they called me and said, Hovind, would you like to come debate one of our professors?
You know, Labyrinth is yet another movie I've never seen, so I'll add that to the list. But I decided I'd watch the show from 2013 to 2023 range called The Blacklist after seeing some short clips online and really liking it. And first episode was definitely good, so I'm going to be continuing it. So that's, 200 some odd episodes of a show I'm going to be watching over the next couple of months. So I've got that going for me. On that note, if anyone wants a recommendation from me, if you haven't seen Mad Men, holy shit, watch Mad Men. That was a good show.
Well, I had never had a debate in my life except with my wife, and I lost those every time. The problem with debating...
You also lost your wife, Hovind. You got divorced multiple times, although only one of them was remotely legit.
Your wife, even when you win, you lose. How many know what I'm talking about? Now,
misogyny.
come on. All you guys, get your hand up. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. So I said, okay, I'll come debate this professor. And they said, well, I said, what do I do? I've never had a debate. They said, send us 30 questions, and he'll send us 30 questions. I said, okay. I sent him 30 questions that I thought were perfectly legitimate questions. I said, the termite chews on wood and swallows it, but he can't really digest it. He's got little critters in his intestines. You talk about tiny. I mean, the termite's pretty small. His intestines are real tiny, and this critter inside is real tiny. I said, that little critter digests the cellulose for the termite. Now, the termite can't live without them little critters in his intestines, and those little critters cannot live outside the termite.
Yeah, they can't live now. Previously, they were fine. And then a nice symbiosis formed, and that allowed both of them to adapt to a niche. One just spends its existence inside of the termite guts, and the termites get another source of energy. It's kind of like us in mitochondria. One day, early cell just absorbed this other cell, and they got along great. And it's just like, well, I'm just going to hitch a ride for the next, the 3 billion years, because it's the powerhouse of the cell. Don't you know? Got to get that ATP.
Termite. So my question is, which one evolved first?
Irrelevant. The point where they became symbiotic occurred well after any of those particular nuances would have evolved. Honestly, it would have been a case of the bacteria likely, or whatever it is, being absorbed in some way, shape, or form into the termites and suddenly proving useful as being tangential to something they did eat, is my wild guess based on what I do or don't know. I know this is well documented. I just can't remember what it is, because it's not my job to remember all these amazing things, to recite them on demand for your stupid ass.
And how did it live without the other one? That question never came up in the debate. I don't know what happened to it. But actually, I got to looking back at the tape after we're done. None of my questions ever came up. They used all of his. I said, what? I've learned that's kind of the way it works. But there are thousands and thousands of symbiotic relationships that just defy an evolutionary explanation. Yet the Bible says God designed everything in 6 days.
Kent, are you trying to say God designed that parasite that replaces the fucking tongue of some fish? I mean, if you want to own it, sure, but that thing's pretty fucking terrifying.
days. It is perfectly logical to believe that. The Bible says the animals will bring forth after their kind. It says
And there's that weird laughter he does.
that 10 times in the first chapter. I have atheists who say, well, what's a kind? I say, okay, we'll start off maybe with mankind. What would that mean? Okay, it's pretty obvious what a kind is. If they can bring forth, they're the same kind, okay? The Bible says, and God told Noah to bring them after their kind, after his kind, after his kind. I mean,
Oh, then, Kent, answer me why this kind clarification or distinction begins to break down when you get into the nitty-gritty between existing species. And even more so when you study extinct species. Kinds don't seem to work then. Because here's a crazy thing, Kent, is that are all the kinds that existed previously still existing today? He would say no, because of the dinosaurs. And it's like, okay, so are there only so many kinds there will ever be, and eventually we're going to be left with no kinds? You know, it's little things you wonder as a side effect of what he says.
he keeps using the word kind, and Charlie Darwin came along and wrote a book called The Origin of Species. Wait, species, that's not the word God used, okay? But based on the idea that God made the kinds, we can make some predictions. I predict not only will there be design in nature, symbiotic relationships, but there'll be limits to the variations animals can produce. They can produce varieties of...
You know, it's a little terrifying that I get bored as much as I do and can produce more content than my followers can consume in any reasonable amount of time. Honestly, my content creation rate is second only to that of my buddy Prince Watercress. But he literally spends all day working on this stuff. He is a machine. I am just a bored fucker who has an audience online and likes entertaining them. I do it for y'all. Oh, and I appreciate every second y'all watch. I never, honestly, never thought I'd have any kind of audience like this. But you're more than audience, you're friends. And that's the best thing of all. And then we get new people in the group from time to time, and it's like, hey, welcome, enjoy. And watch it grow. Watch people make more comments, laugh, get in the groove. That's the coolest thing. When new random people come in and they just add a comment that perfectly fits with our style here. They feel comfortable. They feel safe. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want. By the way, with Pride Month coming up in the United States, note that I am most definitely a friend, an ally. So, you know, you're welcome here. Unless you're Hovind. Nah, he's welcome too. He just needs to shut his damn mouth. Learn a few things, Hovind. Yeah. I just thought I'd bring that up. Something else. Oh yeah, I was gonna say also, if you are new to my streams, you're watching this video after the fact, or you're watching live, you know, feel free to pop up in the chat, or if you're after the fact, you know, leave a comment. Don't be scared. Have fun. We're all friends here. Let's continue with 0640, soon to be 0645 2017.
Of the same kind. You may get a big dog or a little dog, or straight hair, long hair, you know, short hair, curly tail, straight tail, but you're going to get a dog. The horse, the zebra are probably the same kind of animal. You know, they crossbreed these critters and get Zorses, Zonkies, Zionis, Z-donks, Zebras, Shebras. Well, that's because they're the same kind of animal. You know, four-wheel drive, genuine leather upholstery. It's a horse, okay? The leopard and the lion can crossbreed and produce an offspring called a leopon. You can get tigers and ligers.
Hey, Kent, can you tell me which kind the hyena belongs to? I should call and ask him that. Which kind is the hyena? Is it dog kind? Is it cat kind? Tell me. I need to know. Pro tip, hyenas are horrible. I love the fuckers, but they are some of the most horrible creatures in existence. And maybe that's why I love them.
Because they're a cat, okay? This magazine where you order chickens says, okay, boys and girls, what kind of chickens do you want to get? Red Rocks, White Rocks, Cherry Eggers, Brown Leghorns, Golden Comets.
Hovin's trying to buy cocks.
But then it says, jungle fowl are the original bird from which all varieties and strains of domesticated chickens are derived. Did you know all the chickens had a common ancestor? Chicken, that's right, okay?
No, it wasn't a chicken. It was a jungle fowl, as explained. And then the derivatives of chicken we have, which we call them that for reasons of differentiation, are derived from that, which was derived from other predecessor birds, which were derived from avian dinosaurs, which were derived from your general dinosaur planiform, and so on and so forth, and all that jazz and whatever. I'm making up words. No, I'm not making up words now. I'm just saying random shit.
There are 8 kinds of bears in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor. A bear.
Oh, but then you got the dogs and you got the seals, and when you go back, it all converges. You got the dog bears and the bear dogs and the dog seals and the bear seals and the all these things that just it's all one and the same. Is it all the same kind, Kent?
Bible says God created everything. Is it logical?
And the Quran says Allah created everything, and yes, it's the same character, but at the same rate, no, it's not. And Zoroastrians have their thing, and the Hindus have their things, and the islands of Japan were made by Amaterasu dipping her spear in the sea and and the brine that came off of it made the islands, and that's all true too. If that's true, then everything's true. Come on, Kent. Don't give a fuck what the Bible says, because the Bible's just lines on paper.
To believe that? Well, if God created it, I predict there'll be a purpose to life, a reason for being here. If evolution is true, what is the purpose of life? I've asked evolutionists a simple question all over the world.
Psychotaneously, what happens when Hovind thinks and speaks? I don't know. We'll come up with a definition.
I say, guys, if your theory is true, how do you tell right from wrong? They have never been able to get an answer to that. I had a kid, I spoke at a public school here in Pennsylvania years ago. Kid sat on the second row and he said, Mr. Hovind, I'm an atheist. He said, there is no God. I said, are you sure? He said, oh yes, I'm sure. I said, well, tell me, son. I said, do you know everything? He said, oh no.
Oh, the knowledge argument, so stupid. God, I love this. Hovind using weak-ass arguments like these. This is where he doubled down on his own bullshit, which I guess when you have 9.5 years in prison, that's what you're going to do.
I said, well, do you think maybe you know half of everything? He said, no. I said, okay, well, let's just pretend for a minute that you know half of everything. Is it possible that God exists in the other half you don't know? Brand new thought rattled around in his brain for a while and got lost, I'm quite sure. I said, by the way, son, if you're an atheist, how do you tell right from wrong? He said,
oh no, Ken, how do you? Because you seem to do a lot of shit that's wrong, so obviously whatever metric you're using is fucking broken.
oh, that's easy. He said, I decide what's right and wrong. He said,
Also, I'll take stories that never fucking happened.
I'm the God of my own universe. I said, I'm glad to hear about that, son, because I am going to shoot you in 5 minutes. He said, you can't do that. I said, oh, yeah, I can. You see,
You can't do that. Talk like you got some sense, Hovind. And he gets his ass kicked in Memphis just for talking like a fucking idiot.
God of my own universe, and I decided it's fine for me to shoot you. If evolution is true, there is no purpose to life. I predict, based on the God created the heaven and the earth idea, that there will be non-material things in this universe. Not just material things, but non-material things like love, sense of justice, mercy, an innate knowledge of right and wrong, a conscience, and an absolute truth.
Funny, all of those are concepts inside of the brain. So, Kent, what you're predicting is that we'll have imagination. And, chemicals driving those things. Because those things also exist as chemicals. Usually a dopamine response for things that are positive and a fight or flight response for things that are negative. And thus we generally seek positive experience versus negative experiences. But since such is unavoidable in life, we happen to have developed a psyche that kind of requires a bit of balance. If you have way too good of a time, eventually you grow desensitized to it. And of course, if you have too bad of a time, you equally are able to adapt. But it really, really, really takes its toll on you.
I predict there'll be a way to find the will of the Creator. He not only designed this place, he left behind an owner's manual. How
That's a shitty owner's manual.
to find it. Maybe a book. Maybe some preachers or evangelists tell us what to do.
The fucking instruction manual to home improvement on the SNES is better than the Bible. And if you don't know, look it up. It's a long-running meme in the gaming community.
Predict there'll be an afterlife where we face the Creator one day. The Bible says people before the flood lived to be 900 plus years old. Based on that, we can make some scientific predictions. I predict there'll be legends of a golden age and a creation event. And sure enough, we find those all over. I predict there'll be skeletons found of huge animals.
They aren't predictions, Kent. This is all post-diction. This is you after the fact, looking at what's already known culturally, bringing it up and saying that it all is concordant with your particular fairy tale as opposed to anyone else's.
Animals and people, because they're living longer and growing much bigger. Even a larger brow ridge, which indicates great...
You know, give me something novel, something new, something no one's ever said before that can be judged, especially if you were to discover it. That'd be impressive.
Age, okay? I predict there'll be biological problems today, like wisdom teeth, because we're not living as long or getting as old or growing as big. I predict there'll be a universal longing for a Garden of Eden. Return to the peace on earth, goodwill to men. Okay? The Bible says, by one man sin came into the world, and death by sin. That's what the Bible says. By man came death. In Adam all die. That's what the Bible teaches. The Bible says there was a big flood 4,400 years ago. Is it intelligent to believe that? Well, based on that flood idea, I can make some predictions. I predict the earth will have hundreds or thousands of layers of strata.
Violence concerns at the art protest so far are only in concerns of Hovind trying to do something with his people. Wouldn't put it past them. Not that I'm in any way connected to administration or anything of this thing. That's just my personal take on stuff. As I stressed in a previous stream, I would certainly hope everyone on our side who's there behaves themselves, doesn't cause an issue, both for their own sake, for the group's sake, and just keeping the appearance good that, hey, atheists aren't a bunch of scumbags. Because we need all the PR we can get, given the bullshit that's been put against us through the millennia at this stage.
I predict there'll be billions of fossils, including coal and oil, found in those rock strata layers. I predict there'll be huge canyons and deltas showing enormous erosion from a worldwide flood. I predict there'll be legends of this worldwide flood all over.
Yeah, English guy, that's the trick up that I want to go to, is that they are apparently more closely related to cats than dogs, and it's a matter of the form being useful, that type of scavenger build. I'm gonna look into details on that later if I can remember to.
The earth, okay? I predict there'll be petrified trees in the vertical position running through these rock layers. Now, the textbooks teach your kids each of the layers of earth is a different age. You know, Cenozoic, Mesozoic, Paleozoic, Archaeozoic. Is it intelligent to believe that? All over the world, petrified trees are found.
Yes, it is, and no, they aren't. They aren't trees or club mosses, and they're not through geologic layers. They're through individual sedimentary layers that are still, relatively fresh, things considered. They're explained better by other people. Again, it shouldn't be my job to have to memorize every counter to every lie you guys have.
Standing up.
It does enough for me to know it's a lie.
How long does a dead tree stand up in your yard before it falls down? Why would there be thousands of petrified trees in the standing position found all over the planet? And only one would prove the point. This one, the bottom is coalified, the top is coalified, and the center is petrified. Joggins, Nova Scotia is famous for its
Press X'd it out.
Thousands of petrified trees in the standing position. Occasionally, petrified trees are upside down running through these rock layers. Textbook says the layers are different ages. Is it intelligent to believe that? I don't think so. Here's a fish fossil that was found recently. The nose is stuck in rock 1 million years older than the neck.
No.
Is it intelligent to believe that? I predict, based on the Bible's flood story, we'll find clams and sea creatures showing evidence of instant burial on top of mountains. You know, when they climbed Mount Everest, 1953, they got to the top. The top 3,000 feet of Mount Everest is sedimentary rock packed full of seashells.
No, Ambushed is not currently around. Are you in his Discord? Because it is available. In fact, this is a good opportunity for me to segue into promoting his Discord. Give me just a moment to generate an invite link. Do 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 do. Gonna send that in the chat. I clicked the wrong button. There we go. Let me paste that. Boom, there's an invite to Ambushed Apostates Discord, if y'all want to join in on that. Brandon Sanderson created the universe.
On top of the Peruvian mountains and Andes Mountains in Peru, 2 miles above sea level.
Maybe Otaku. I'm been a while since I looked into these kinds of things. And I think I only had learned that from Civilization 2 or whatever.
Well, a couple of years ago, they found 11-foot oysters, 660-pound oysters, closed and petrified. Petrified clams in the closed position are very interesting. I live in Pensacola, not far from the beach, 6 miles. You can go down and find a billion seashells, but you never find them closed. Once they die, they open. How do you get petrified closed clams on top of Mount Everest?
Hey, those aren't modern clams, for one, because they're fucking ancient. And two, it's been explained ad nauseum that was once seabed.
Well, I would like to point out, Your Honor, that Mount Everest is a little ways from the beach.
Oh, Your Honor. Yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of Your Honor stuff here in a couple of months.
Okay, like 450 miles. Second, I'd like to point out that clams do not climb mountains very well. Third, I'd like to point out these clams are closed, indicating buried alive. Clams open when they die. Petrified closed clams on top Mount Everest are a good indication of a rapid worldwide flood. Now, I don't think the water was over Mount Everest. I think Mount Everest was under the water. That's a big difference. The Bible says in Psalm 104, toward the end of the flood, the mountains arose, the valley sank down, the water rushed off. See, the flood covered the earth, but the mountains weren't there till the end of the flood. Petrified clams are found by the tens of thousands. We have bushel baskets of them at our place. We sell them for $1 or $2 a piece. If you want to get a big one, they're $5. Come on down to see Dinosaur Adventureland in Pensacola. Now,
not no more, it ain't.
the textbook says it takes millions of years for things to petrify.
Hey, quit making fun of my friends in high school, jerk ass.
Well, I don't know. Here's a petrified water wheel. Petrified firewood. Somebody chopped on it before it petrified. Here's a petrified fishing reel stuck in a rock. The reel in the rock. UTC.
You know, except they're not petrified. Mark sends a super sticker titled "A Pile of Poop with a Face." I'm gonna have to go into my own chat and check that out. I see you posted a 99-cent super sticker of Hovind. Thank you very much. I hope everyone enjoyed that. If not, go back and enjoy it. Appreciate it, damn it! I do!
Geology experts can't explain that. Wow. There's petrified cowboy boot. The cowboy's leg is still in it. Boot made 1950s. Petrified fish giving birth. It does not take millions of years to give birth. There's a petrified hammer from World War II. The handle is turned to stone. Here's a petrified hat found in New Zealand.
Calcified. I mean, this is all stuff, Sorry, I just got taken aback by something. Just pure coincidental. I was gonna say Logic covered those in his videos on you. Fossilized crayon sent to me on 4/20/99. Of all the days for someone to send you a fossilized crayon, I don't even understand what the fuck that crayon could actually possibly be other than covered in just some sedimented calcite crap. But it has to be that date. Perfectly fitting for you, though, Hovind. Horror seems to follow you.
New Zealand. Kid sent me a petrified crayon. Here's petrified sacks of flour.
Oh well, at least he pronounces crayon properly and doesn't say crayon, or God forbid, crown. How you get crown from crayon is beyond me.
From Eureka Springs, Arkansas, from a flour mill that flooded in 1910. We've got in our museum a petrified pickle. The guy from Montana said, "Hey, Brother Hovind, I found this old pickle, or this pickle jar in an old house out here, the homestead. The roof was gone, the walls are falling down, the house is a wreck, but there's this pickle jar, and the lid rusted off, and the pickle inside turned to stone." He
Brachiopods, thank you, Tyler. I always forget that.
said, "Would you like it for your museum?" I said, "Of course. Who in their right mind would not want a petrified pickle?" Send it down. Petrified toadstool. Soft tissue petrifying? Petrified acorns. This 7-year-old kid petrified him himself in 1 year. Here's petrified peanuts on display at Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in St. Augustine, Florida by Jacksonville. Here's petrified charcoal briquettes in our museum in Pensacola. Petrified coconut. Petrified octopus arm. Petrified eggs. Do you know the possibility of an egg fossilizing? I mean, they're fragile. There's petrified jellyfish. For heaven's sake, jellyfish are real smushy. It takes millions of years for things to petrify. I don't think it's intelligent to believe that. I think it's more intelligent to believe that was a rapid burial. Now, Ernst Haeckel, the guy, we can talk all day about Ernst Haeckel, but he said, spontaneous generation, that is life from non-living minerals, must be true, not because it had been proven in the laboratory, but because otherwise it would be necessary to believe in a creator.
Yeah, and that idea is quite literally fucking silly.
Richard Dawkins,
That's right, the idea is fucking something named silly.
who refused to debate me, and his secretary hung up on me when I called when I was going over to England, said, "Hey, how much would he charge to do a debate?" "What?" I said, "Debate on creation." "What do you mean charge?" I said, "We'll pay any amount of money. You name your price, we'll pay. I want to videotape a debate with me." And
There you go, Taku. Thank you for explaining it. You get crown from crayon by drawing one. Of course, it's so obvious.
Richard Dawkins. Click. So my secretary called up. Got just about as far, and click. Richard Dawkins said, "It's absolutely safe to say..."
You're not worth anyone's time, Hovind. Also, hello, John. Everyone, welcome, John.
If you meet someone who claims not to believe in evolution, that person is ignorant, stupid, insane, or wicked. Huxley, Julian Huxley, the grandson of Thomas Huxley, said, "I suppose the reason we left at origin of species was the idea of God interfered with our sexual mores. We don't want God telling us what to do."
And I don't care what any individual says. That's irrelevant to the facts and reality.
Textbook says 20 billion years ago there was a big bang, and 4.6 billion years ago the Earth cooled down. As the planet Earth cooled, a rocky surface was created. Yes, boys and girls, the Earth formed, and the surface was hot, and there were large pools of bubbling lava. This textbook says there was no oxygen on the Earth, 0% oxygen, but the rocks absorbed it. Then millions of years of torrential rains created...
Could it be that you can't read and that was the rocks had absorbed the oxygen, as in reactions took place and they oxidized? It's kind of what happens.
Great oceans. And swirling in the waters of the oceans is a bubbling broth of complex chemicals. Progress from a complex chemical soup to a living organism is very slow. Life on Earth may have begun in rocks on the ocean floor. Nature magazine.
Yep, in rocks. Rocks are a location. You don't say the hospital created you, Kent. In the same way, we don't say that we came from rocks.
The first self-replicating systems must have emerged in this organic soup. So 20 billion years ago there's a big bang, and 4.6 billion years ago the Earth cooled down. It was a hot ball of rock. And it rained and rained and rained and rained and rained on the rocks for millions of years and turned them into soup, and the soup came alive 3 billion years ago. So great.
I love that by this point we knew damn well 13.8 billion years was the reasonable time frame, but he's still running the 20 billion line. Such a clod. The highest I ever heard in my life was 15 billion, and then it narrowed down a little further.
Great grandpa was soup. Is it intelligent to believe that? I would...
Not what you said. The actual science that you don't understand, yeah. But the bullshit you just spewed, the outright lies and fabrications, no, that's not intelligent to believe, any more intelligent than your magic dirt man and rib woman bullshit.
Say no, okay? There's a lot of dogs in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor, but that does not prove all the dogs in the world came from a rock, okay? That's a big difference. Variations happen. The Bible says in the beginning, God created it. In 6 days, he did it all, okay? So Adam, of course, had to see dinosaurs. The Bible says there was a firmament, which means an atmosphere, because verse 20 tells us the birds fly in.
You know, I don't know if it's since they've got Hoven's slides worked in this. I don't know if this is Hoven's video being re-uploaded by them, like their final production, or if the church in question and this group compiled it all together or something. But you notice there's those couple of weird cuts here and there. Just kind of noticeable. There's a lot of cuts that are very just like right on the edge.
The firmament, Genesis 1:20. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. I believe
Water everywhere. Let's all take a drink.
when God first made the earth, there was water above the atmosphere, which is now gone, and water under the crust of the earth. I read my Bible a bunch of times and never saw this. I don't know why, but
I love how in that art the North and South Pole were just being crushed by like whatever the hell his canopy theory was at this time. Like, did y'all notice that? Look at that shit. It's just like, we got the floating crush, water here, water there, water everywhere, crush. And I mean, did this water go on forever, or was it a fixed amount of water?
the Bible says in Psalm 24, the earth is the Lord's. He hath founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods. Did God build the earth on top of...
Oh man, do I need to be the one to call Kent and explain to him that everything's chemicals? That's one of my favorite lines. It's got chemicals and everything is chemicals. Okay, doesn't mean what you think it means.
of the water? Psalm 136, he stretched out the earth above the water.
Zumi, I'm going to let Otaku address this if they're still here, which I'm sure they are. Otaku knows what I was referencing. Otaku, take it away in the comments.
Now, wait. Today, the water's on top of the earth. When God first made it, he made the earth on top of the water. Is it intelligent to believe that? Well, I believe the Bible teaches there was a layer of water, or ice, then a layer of air to breathe, we still got that, and then a layer of dirt and rocks to stand on, and then water under the crust of the earth. The fountains of the deep broke open in Genesis chapter 7. I believe most of the flood water came from inside the earth. The rain was only 40 days, but the water kept coming up for 150 days. It's not all coming from rain. The Bible says, who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth as if it had issued out of a womb. I delivered one of my kids at home. Talk about a royal mess. Oh, one of my...
Yeah, if I was married, I wouldn't want to be seeing that. Just... I wouldn't want to see my wife in that state. Maybe I would be involved. I don't know. Of course, at this stage in life, I don't think there's going to be any kids happening, so it doesn't matter. Zuni. It was a Simpsons reference. Yep. Boy Scouts in the Hood. Yep, exactly. Trust me, I quote Homer Simpson more than I do just about anyone else.
My buddies was in college with me, and his wife was pregnant. She's standing at the kitchen, at the sink, doing dishes, and her water broke. She hollered, honey, my water broke. Let's get to the hospital. He came running in to help and slipped and broke his arm. She had to drive him to the hospital, have the baby, and get his arm set.
Yeah, I mean, this just whole thing, I'm just like, no. Let medical professionals handle that. I ain't getting involved. Yeah, anyway.
If you've never seen a baby born, you will not understand Job chapter 38. But the water came shooting out of the earth, and...
So, story time. I used to go to a local Goodwill thrifting quite regularly, and in the back bargain area, there were VHS tapes that popped out. Random ones. people taping movies off TV and stuff. Honestly, I should have got those for archival sake, because there are loads of good local commercials and all that jazz. Because that's now a whole scene, one I rather like. But what I found was interesting. One is a tape called Icecapades Memphis, which would have to have been at the Mall of Memphis, so a rare piece of footage from inside of that place. Um, I have to do a whole video on that thing and why it's a bit of an obsession to me. But the more important one, relevant to the story, is a video a tape that was apparently someone being born. I debated on getting it and decided against it. But it was a tough debate because of man, now I'm just fucking curious. But I decided the feeling of nausea and such that would come, because I'm one of those people who can't actually see. I don't get super squeamish with a lot of things, but there is a point where I do get very, very unnerved by stuff and very, very sensitized to it. The empathy neurons fire. I knew, no, it's a privacy invasion. It's just that crap also just shouldn't have been there to begin with, though. Here's another funny thing, and I wrote a piece on this on my website, is that Goodwill usually has a data policy to where computer related electronics they'll virtually never sell out of the bargain barn and the like. Sometimes you can get some stuff, but not often. She literally wouldn't let you buy a computer keyboard. It's what's going to be on here? It's a damn keyboard. Sometimes you can get away with things, but in the bins at points were just literal straight up medical documents and financial records for somebody, probably deceased, but still. That I could have just stuffed in a box and bought as scrap paper for whatever, and they wouldn't have given a shit. They wouldn't have checked. But, you can't buy other stuff because, So you find an old computer graphics card that would be perfect for a retro build. Nope, not going to happen. Well, fuck you. Why do you even take the stuff? Oh, wait. Back to Hovland.
Destroyed this planet. I believe we still today have the scars where this happened. They're called fault lines. The earth busted up like an eggshell and the water came shooting out. And some of those, I've studied them. San Andreas Fault, the Hayward Fault, the New Madrid Fault, the Golden Fault. None of them are my fault, but there's no question. The earth has layers to it, and some of them are still moving. And when they move, we have earthquakes, tsunamis, etc. Did you know there is hot water shooting up into the bottom of the ocean all around these cracks? Now think real hard just for a minute. If there's water shooting up into the bottom of the ocean, where does it have to be coming from? Lower than that.
Yeah, and it's going down there from above. It's a circular system, Kent.
How many can figure that out with no help? Okay. Well, if there's water shooting up into the bottom of the ocean, there's still water in the crust of the earth. Is it intelligent to believe there was water under the crust of the earth? There still is. Japanese scientists have been drilling holes for a long time. They just...
Oh, man. Yeah, the Dahmer stream. I'm going to have to be in top-notch mood to do that one. And honestly, it's probably going to turn into 15 freaking streams. Something crazy.
Did a big paper on it a few years ago, and they said, folks, there's 10 oceans worth of water in the crust of the earth.
No.
We've only got 10% on the surface. That's what they said. Okay, I didn't count it, but I know there's plenty on the surface. The Bible says 6,000 years ago God made everything, and 4,400 years ago there was a flood. Destroyed the planet. Before the flood came, people lived to be 900 plus years old. 900. Now, reptiles never stop growing. They never stop. It's just about...
You ever think about how weird it is that people go to church just to be told stuff they already believe? Just constantly. It's weird to me.
Logical fact. This guy in National Geographic says...
Always the same jokes. They're all terrible. But again, this is good Christian content. He's the good guy.
He says, no human being has ever seen a live dinosaur. In 1910, in Africa, there were reports of dinosaurs still living in the Congo swamp? 1948, Saturday Evening Post, there was a 3-page article about people reporting seeing dinosaurs in the Congo swamp in Africa.
Yeah, that doesn't mean diddly shit. And of course, here's Mokele Mimbe.
There have been 30 expeditions to that Congo swamp now.
What does he call it? Mokele Mbembe? I don't know.
Where they're still reporting dinosaurs right now. The natives call it Mokele Mbembe. Roy Mackall, University of Chicago, went there, came back, went on a second trip, spent $250,000. He said, folks, there are dinosaurs still alive in the swamp. And then he said, it's amazing they've survived for 70 million
Marty, hey.
years. Gene Thomas just died here recently from Ohio. He was there as a missionary for 43 years. He reported that his two pygmies in his church had killed a dinosaur and eaten it.
You got proof? Oh, hey, now he's going to talk shit about where Mark lives. You keep Scotland the fuck out of your mouth, Hovind.
There's a lake in Scotland called Loch Ness. Anybody ever heard of Loch Ness Monster before? Well, Loch Ness is huge, 24 miles long. Loch Ness is big enough that everybody in the world could go drown.
Wait, did he say Loch Ness monster is huge?
In it at the same time. 24 miles long. Loch Ness has ever heard of Loch Ness Monster before? Well, Loch Ness is huge, 24 miles long. Loch Ness.
Okay, I thought he said the Loch Ness monster is huge. Sorry.
This is big enough that everybody in the world could go drowned in it at the same time.
Oh, and there's drowned. Drown. Idiot.
That lake would hold the entire population of the planet, 6 billion people. You know, there have been thousands of folks who claim they've seen the Loch Ness Monster. They claim it's a plesiosaur. Arthur Grant nearly ran into it on his motorcycle one night. He drew a sketch of what he saw. The Spicer family saw it with a sheep in its mouth, headed back for the water. There have been thousands.
Yeah, he owes me about tree fitty as well. The boy owes everybody tree fitty. That's why he ain't paying up, because he owes everybody. And if he pays one person, everyone's going to be coming to try to get a piece.
11,000 reported sightings of the Loch Ness Monster. There are thousands of sightings in Canada's lakes, so some of the Canadian lake monsters. I interviewed this guy for an hour. These 4 guys were chased in their boat off the coast of Cape Sable Island, Nova Scotia, by what he said was a dinosaur.
Nova Scotia. Yeah, Loch Ness is freaking huge. I don't know. He's definitely right there.
Here they are telling us nobody's ever seen one. I've interviewed 100 people who claim they've seen one. I don't think it's intelligent to say nobody's ever seen a dinosaur. He can believe that if he wants. California.
Yeah, that's a big thing, Laura, and I decided not to bring it up. But yeah, water in the crust of the earth, not like he's thinking, especially that volume. I mean, it would have to be incredibly thin.
1925, this thing washed up on the beach. Skin Diver magazine had a big article about it. The guy behind, you can see the neck going down this way. The guy behind's got a rifle just in case it moves again. There's the head off to the left.
Oops, there goes
the neck
that thing again. Pictures are taken with forced perspective to make this thing look huge. I forget what it was, but it's well known to not be anything like what you idiots think.
20 feet long. Had an atheist write me a letter and said, Hovind, you're so stupid. He said, don't you know that was a whale? Everybody that examined it said it was a plesiosaur. I mean, they saw it, okay?
Everyone you say examined it says it was. Your source is I'm going to need better sources. Oh, wait, we have them, and they go against you.
Okay. They came and examined the thing and said, wow, that's a plesiosaur laying on a beach.
I mean, that would have been something that would have, been a revolution in scientific understanding. But, of course, you cry conspiracy.
And he says, that's a whale. I said, just exactly where is the neck on a whale? Ought to be somewhere between the head and the flippers, don't you think? Is it intelligent?
Yeah, what you got there isn't a neck, buddy boy.
To believe that? I don't think so. This textbook says, the complex structure of the human eye may be the product of millions of years of evolution.
Wait, Otaku, what reference did I make? Because I don't even know. Sometimes I do them without even realizing it.
Did the eye evolve? The Bible says God formed the eye. He that formed the eye, shall he not see? Charles Darwin said, to suppose the eye could have been formed by natural selection seems, I freely confess, absurd. The back of
And then he proceeds to explain the graduated process in detail from his understanding, a hypothetical on how it could have. Cherry picking. Maybe you should go do that for a real job, Hovind.
your eyeball is 1 square inch. The retina contains about 137 million light-sensitive cells, all wired to the brain.
Oh, right, the South Park reference. Sorry.
Now, there are at least 3 basic fundamental parts. You have the eye, capable of receiving the light and changing it to an electrical impulse. You have the nerve, which transmits it to the brain, and then you have part of the brain that's able to understand it and make some sense out of it. Which of those 3 evolved first? And what good did it do without the other 2? 137 million light-sensitive cells, all wired straight to the brain.
Yep, and what is it? Squids have better eyes than us. Birds have better eyes than us. A lot of things have better eyes than us. So it's weird being such a perfectly formed creature that we would possibly be so, gimped.
I've done a lot of electrical work. I can't imagine hooking up 137 million connections in 1 square inch. That'd be crowded.
Demagov Rodman, you might be in the wrong place. We're not pro Hovind here. So thank you for coming in and being positive. You may be in the wrong place unless that's ironic. And now, see, don't anyone say that I'm rude as hell to everyone random who just shows up, because I'm not. Because that was a very pleasant greeting, and I'm just being nice on the fact that maybe in the wrong spot. No reason for me to be a jerk unless I absolutely have to be a jerk. Like with the other clowns who come in and do stuff.
I debated an atheist one time up here in New York. He said, Hovind, the human eye is evidence for evolution because it's poorly designed. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the blood vessels are in front of the retina, and so it blocks some of the light. So the light goes through the blood vessels and then
Bob Ali, why is multiple things happening simultaneously such a hard concept for him? Because he's an idiot.
hits the retina and then, gets transmitted to the brain. I said, yeah, so what? He said, well, that's a poor design. He said, the octopus has a much better design.
Oh, man. Freaking loved Weekly World News back in the day. They still put stuff online, and it's still done in the same style. Fucking love it. Oh my god, I've been muted the whole time. There's the original video, Demagov. Sorry, I have a problem of accidentally muting myself. I wanted to say thank you for stopping in, though. Sorry that you thought this might have been a Hovind stream or otherwise something supportive of him. But there you go. There's the link to the original video. Do enjoy.
Blood vessels are behind the retina. I said, well, sir, let me explain something to you. I said, we humans live in the air. Okay, air is a very poor insulator for UV light.
Now, to give you a sense of delay, as soon as I saw this come up, that's when I tagged it. So that gives you an idea on how delayed the stream is for you. Like, here we go. I just got the thanks from Demagov. You're very welcome. Thanks for stopping in. Hope you have a wonderful day yourself. Let's see, that right there, that interaction, Demagov, I'd love for people like him to pop in. I mean, not come in firing, just pop in. In this case, simple misunderstanding. And then like, oh, well, where's the actual Hovind video? And ask, it's like, here you go. I got no problem. It's all about how you come in and do things. And as my regular audience knows, I'll play an abrasive ass character, but many of y'all also know how caring I can try to be. I don't know if I actually succeed in such. Um, but and I've got issues, abuse and stuff in life that have caused me to be a little iffy sometimes on things. But but I want to be nice. I try to be nice. I try to be friendly, and I definitely care. Sometimes I just can't express how I care about things. It becomes hard when you've spent your life with expressing care being effectively a mistake, and I know a lot of you can relate to that. Um, but yeah, a friend here popping in. I feel glad I could direct them to the video so they could just watch and take it for what it is themselves. Didn't come in, didn't do a fuss, just you know you gotta love moments like that. I mean, look at that. Threw in some emoji. It was just pleasant. That was just fun. That made my day. I mean, not like you hanging out with you guys doesn't make the day awesome, but that really just hit the spot. You know what I mean? That little joyous moment where it's like, "Aw, we were just nice," because there's no reason to be mean. Zero reason to be mean there.
So the blood vessels in front of your retina is your body's last defense against ultraviolet light. Now, octopus live in
Yeah, Taku, that's the trick. My medication helps with that. Really keeps me on the level.
the water. Okay? Water stops UV light. So they don't need the blood vessels in front. So we are designed for living.
And William, you may already be gone. In case you catch this later, thanks. Yeah, everyone at the ARC protest, we all definitely need to, one, look out for each other, and two, definitely take care just in case. You be safe too, William. Catch you next time. Can't slide with the text here. As quote, E.L. Wallace, president of the National History Society of British Columbia, skin diver, November 89. Looked it up. Oh boy, this gonna be good.
Living in the air, and they are designed for living in the water. Now, if you really think the octopus has a better eye, if you want to swap eyes with an octopus, you just go ahead. But I'll tell you what, you're going to be blind in a few weeks. Okay? They're saying, well, God would have done it that way, so it must have evolved. Well, that's a lousy argument for evolution. Even if something is poorly designed, that's still not a good evidence of evolution. Okay? Here's a first-generation copy of Charles Darwin's book, page 217. To suppose the eye.
I'll try to keep that going there. I'm having actually have really rough, really bad vision, which is funny. We're talking about the eye in this thing, so I can only see things so well, even like zoomed up to my computer in old man mode. Like it's actually pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to take that for a moment and work with it to be like, hey, if I see you again, be sure to pronounce the name correctly, because I do try to. Maybe if I heard it at a point, that would definitely help. I appreciate you being in. Reese on the level. Could have sworn you were sitting here by the devil. It's a bona fide, genuine electrified 6-car monorail. And Trip popping in. I just want to say that you can still be a Christian and believe in evolution and believe that Hovind is full of crap if that applies to you. Thank you, Trip. Good point. I think God give other aquatic creatures octopus eyes. Another good point.
Could have been formed by natural selection. We made a copy off of this page. And then we made a copy off the copy. And then we made a copy off the copy off the copy.
Gonna channel my inner AJ here. Copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. Freaking 9 Inch Nails, man. One time I was hanging out with him in Discord chat, and we just watched that music video just for the heck of it. It was such a surreal experience. Like, we're just gonna watch 9 Inch Nails music videos now. I loved it.
By the time we got to the 5th generation, it's starting to degrade some. 10th generation, getting pretty tough to read. 15th generation, what on earth is left? If you compare the 1st and the 5th, that's just the 15th generation. If you figure about 25 years.
Kent, if the settings are such that it just kind of lightens some areas and darkens some others, you can eventually get a pattern going of brightening and darkening that would have an almost organic nature to it. And that would actually be relatively similar to evolutionary concepts and how things subtly change over generations. In this case, it's a matter of it just a section being slightly light and it upping the contrast as it would make the copy, since facsimile machines generally do that. And yes, that's what fax is for, facsimile or facsimile, depending on how someone wants to pronounce it. I think the latter is actually more correct, but the former matches the spelling to me. So yeah.
Years per generation, and you figure 6,000 years that man's been here. You and I are the 240th generation from Adam. That gene code's been copied at least 240 times. I think it's amazing we're even sitting here talking about it. Don't you think the information would degrade over time? It'd take 100.
I'm just going to go by say Dema until I'm good pronouncing it. I get very self-conscious on such. Well, if you can stand the fact that I can, as the character I play in streams, be kind of a jerk, but in a playful way, but sometimes very crass, very rude, but also very to the point, definitely hang out. Profanity and some extreme, language doesn't bother you, then you're good. You're welcome. And yeah, you definitely should hear both sides, make your own conclusion, and just think about stuff. Just really take it all in. In my case, it's a lot more comedy and cynicism than it is raw facts. You definitely want to hit like R and Raw for those kinds of things. He has great takedowns of stuff Kent says and both other creationists, other religious types, and just informational things in and of themselves that are, while a bit long at times, very, very packed with info. So necessarily long, to where as long as you can keep focused, you'll learn a lot, and then you can begin to piece everything together. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on everything. But I mean, seriously, I've said it a couple of times. I'll say it again. Happy to have you here. Everyone, welcome our new friend.
100 years of Cray computer time, the world's fastest computer, to simulate what takes place in your eye many times every second. Complex structure of the human eye may be the product of millions of years of evolution. You've got to be kidding.
Hey, Seth. You'll laugh. I actually dropped your Discord earlier. So, it came up as an opportunity. Someone was asking if you were here. And then Deviant shared some art protest links. So I think that sufficed for the info they were seeking. Glad to see you, buddy. Glad to see you as always.
Is it intelligent to believe that? I would say no. I'd say it had to be designed. This textbook says humans and chimps are orangutans are 96% similar.
Kent, it's orangutan, not orangutan. And I know I'm arguing with a video that's nearly 20 years old, but I just have to point that out. I forget who it was that said recently, in our atheist community on the line or something, it may have been Guts Gibbon, or could have been Forrest, who knows, but anyone who says orangutan, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah.
That proves we had a common ancestor 15 million years ago. Most textbooks say humans and chimps have 1.6% difference in their gene code. Barney Maddox, one of the leading genome researchers, said, now the genetic difference between the human and his nearest relative, the chimpanzee, is at least 1.6%. It doesn't sound like much, but calculated out, that's a gap of 48 million nucleotides. And a change of only 3 nucleotides is fatal to an animal. There is
no. It depends on what nucleotides would change to what, how critical they are. If you got something where it critically destroys, blood cells where they don't form right at all, yeah, it ain't gonna live. But if it's something random like hair color, that's not so bad. A slight lengthening of the arms or stronger muscle, or here's an idea, a slightly smaller jaw, which results in also a diminishing of the cranial ridges that were muscles where the jaw muscles were anchored. Ends up resulting in a thinning of the bone there. That doesn't become a detriment. And that means you can get a bigger brain because you got more space for it. Give it a few million years and, oh shit, you've got Homo sapien. Dun dun dun, the most dangerous animal of all. Man.
There's no possibility of change. We have 48 million differences. Well, that's what they used to think. Then they discovered, oh, actually, folks, there's 95% similarity, which makes
Thank you, Tyler. Honestly thought it was guts that give him, but that felt too obvious, way too on the nose.
160 million differences. Then they said, oh, sorry, folks, it's now 7.7% difference between us and chimpanzees, which makes
It depends on how you measure it, Ken. That's the thing. What kinds of comparison are you making? Are you taking individual known gene expression, like known traits, like this is the one that determines hair color, and comparing it to the same one? Are you just comparing them like laterally? You know, it'd be like comparing versions of the Bible, having them all indexed data wise. And because there's different words used and different lengths to all the chapters, eventually character 4187 is most certainly not going to be the same one. The 4097 through the 4099th, characters are not going to be the same as the other one. They could be whole different passages and the like. Are you going to compare individual passages? Or are you just going to compare the raw data? How are you making these comparisons? Because that changes plenty. How much is actually the same depends on how you measure it.
246 million differences. I predict it's going to go over 10%. See, the human gene code is...
And yeah, there you go. Thank you, Tyler. If it's in the unconstrained area, it doesn't matter. Exactly.
Is very little explored, and the chimpanzee gene code is almost no exploration done on that. So they don't know what these numbers really are, but the more they study, they say, wow, we're really different. So when they're saying humans are related to chimpanzees because of their DNA similarity, they're either lying or they're stupid. I don't think it's intelligent to believe that a little bit of gene code similarity proves any one evolved from the other, okay? The DNA is the most complex molecule in the universe. Deoxyribonucleic acid, your gene code.
Debatable. Depends on where you draw the line with molecule. And note there's an asterisk there. I mean, I'd say it's a whole lot of small segments that are bundled together. It's, you can look at it as one thing, but you can also look at it as a couple of billion small things tied together. It's like this phone right here. Is this phone, I think for a Model 300 series Bell System, Western Electric, is it about 600 components, or is it one thing?
Your chromosomes, okay? The average person has 50 trillion plus cells. The total DNA from all those cells would only fill 2 tablespoons. But if you took all the DNA out of your body and unwound it and stretched it out, one person's DNA would reach from Earth to the moon and back over 500,000 round trips to the moon out of 2 tablespoons. It holds more computer information than all the computer programs ever written by man combined in 2 tablespoons.
No name needed. Throw in some shade here. Hovind talks about Grand Canyon all the time, not the Grand Canyon. I'd tell him, if you love Jesus so much, just jump over and you'll find him at the bottom. Oh, man. And yet DNA similarity is literally how they determine a relationship. Yep. That's a common question posed to Kent, and he acts like it just doesn't matter. It doesn't prove what he wants it to be.
IBM models its newest computers after DNA. The quantity of information is so vast, we have to...
Because after the flood, that's where God sent all the animals he didn't like that survived. That explains it. All the evil stuff goes to Australia. Or something like that.
Invent new numbers.
Honestly, you think about it, Australia's a pretty harsh territory. It's relatively isolated. You're going to have a lot of stuff evolve pretty independently and get pretty wild.
Just to measure it. Not just terabytes, but petabytes, exabytes, yottabytes, and zettabytes. All the words ever uttered by everyone who ever lived would amount to 5 exabytes.
Yeah. Miles' newest computers after DNA. No. I mean, so this is probably, for one, talking about mainframes. This would be about by the time Z series really came into its. Let me check. When did IBM Z series start? Okay, 2006. So actually, that tracks that in 2003 they would be bragging about this kind of stuff. I forget the exact nuances of the architecture, but it has a particular threading that they did. It's relatively standard now, multi-core kind of stuff. But at that point, it was still getting to be pretty innovative to the scale they were doing it at for the mainframes and for the virtualization, for the compartmentalization of running, 60-year-old COBOL. um, so again, this is a case of an analogy, new numbers to measure it. Like the rest of that is irrelevant. Like this whole second bit is just a completely irrelevant actual thing. It's a whole other, point being made. It's probably in the original document actually a different paragraph. Of course, we also don't know what's lost in the ellipsis. There's probably plenty of information lost in these ellipses. So if anyone wants to look that up in time for February 2003, go for it.
There's an unbelievable amount of information in your DNA code. If you typed out the code from when you got done typing, you have enough books to fill Grand Canyon about 78 times. 78 Grand Canyons full of books is the instructions just to make you. I'd say you're pretty special.
Yeah, when you put it in a certain format, it can be a lot of data. It can also be compressed pretty dang well. Also, I love that I paused right as things are happening, so you get the scan lines and stuff.
Special. Is it intelligent to believe that? Yeah, I say it is intelligent to believe that. And David didn't even have a microscope. He could figure it out. God is not a man that he should lie. God doesn't lie. The Bible says God cannot lie. That's interesting. He cannot lie. There's some things God cannot do. He cannot learn. He already knows it all. Can't lie. Praise God for that.
Oh, the Time magazine. I did a side search in Firefox. I'm in a February one that's about DNA. That might be the one that. Oh, look, there's 9/11. This is right after the Columbia disaster as well. One that may be what he's talking about. It might be focused more on DNA than it is IBM computers. So yeah, but he's just going to run it the other way.
God promised, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Hey, God did make this world. It's perfectly intelligent to believe that. That means God owns it. That's what people are running from. That means he makes the rules, and that's really what they're running from. And we're guilty of breaking his rules. He told us pretty clearly in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not bear false witness. Don't lie. How many of you have ever told a lie in your life? Put your hand up right there. Okay. Thou shalt not steal. How many ever stole something? Come on, you already told me you're a liar. Get your hand up there, brother. All right, so far we know we're all a bunch of lying thieves, right? Want to read the whole list?
Yeah, all of y'all are.
It gets worse, okay? There's no question we're guilty and we're going to be punished. Or we need to find a substitute. That's where Jesus comes in. Hey, if you died today, where would you go? Smoking or non-smoking?
Ooh. Hang on. I have an answer to that. He asked the question. Give me just a minute. I got to pull it up. Hang on. Here we go. He said the magic words. Where are you going?
Where are you going? I'm going over here.
Yeah, that's an old YouTube poop somebody made, and I extracted that section. Hey, I got 6 notifications on YouTube. I extracted that section because it was amusing. Anyway, back to Hovind. We're about done.
You ought to think about it. You're going to be dead for a long time, a really long time. I'm going to die someday. I'm going to try to make it the last thing I do, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen to you too. I think it's real intelligent to believe there's a designer. He's got a plan, and we better find out what he wants and do it, or we're going to be in trouble. All you get in this life is a little bitty dash between two dates. I would recommend you take your little dash and give it all to Jesus and say, "Here, Lord, would you do something with this? If we can help, that's what we're here for." If you're a Christian here today, what on earth are you doing, for heaven's sake? Everybody could find something to do for the Lord. The worst of you could serve as bad examples, if nothing else. What do you do for the Lord? Oh, I'm a professional bad example. Okay. We don't recommend that. Thank you so much.
Boo, you suck. Wow, I'm glad we're actually freaking over. We made it. Hour 35 minutes, not bad. Not bad. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what to say. That was definitely a video. It was Hovind. It was pretty much exactly the kind of thing we'd expect from him. It's just interesting that it was from just like literally a month before his indictment happened. So this is definitely one of the last ones he actually did, I want to say. And what I also want to do is see, is there a search function here? I have to figure it out. I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna actually spend a little bit of time after the stream. What's it called? Oh God, oh God. Deviant has a novel. Writing about the reference. Okay. No, you're good. You're good. So no, I'm gonna go. Here's the thing. It's loaded to call the universe creation. It's a loaded question, a loaded thing, because it explicitly implies a creator. The very fact that it's phrased that way is loaded. We know paintings exist because they're painted. We know they're artificial constructs because they're known artificial. Clocks, known artificial constructs. The universe is natural. In fact, that's how we distinguish the artificial as not being natural. This is a thing I point to Hovind all the time, is that in his and other creationist cases, there is no such thing as the natural world because everything is an artificial construct. And ironically, that makes the analogy break down. I'm sure someone else could articulate it potentially better, but that's the summation of my thoughts on it and the logic I use. Because yeah, it's a loaded construct. Demonstrate the universe is created first. We can demonstrate a painting is created because we see people paint. We see people make clocks. We don't see clocks just spawn in nature, but we see life just happen. The universe exists. It doesn't mean it was created. And again, we stress the natural from the artificial. No, Deviant, you're good. You're good. Yeah, Deviant content definitely tends to be worth waiting for. So let's see. You know what? I got a little time. We're gonna have some time to kill while this goes on. Let's see. Oh wow! I just found a video I'm gonna have to watch later. Comparison of DDR Max to DDR Extreme background videos. Sweet. Save to watch later. I've been super interested on the changes because in DDR Extreme they took out a lot of videos and changed some things. All right. Let's see. All right. This will give Deviant a moment to do what she's going to do and post what she is going to post. Stop sharing the screen. Start sharing the screen. Did you ever see this from forever ago? Cube, Defender of the Polyverse. We're going to watch it.
It's coming. A game unlike anything you've ever seen. Prepare yourself for Cube. In development for over a decade, Cube will take you to a whole new dimension of computer games. Cube! Featuring the latest in 3D pictures and the newest technologies that make calculators look like the cotton gin. Cube! Pick up your control switch and enter another world. You are now Cube, Defender of the Polyverse. Collect the diamonds and reach the goal. Every goal leads to a new color level. Blue, green, orange. The fun cannot be halted. Cube! But be careful. You will face many obstructions in your path. It's up to you to guide Cube around the things that Cube can't go through. Cube! And just maybe, if you're brave enough and enough of a game master, you will reach level red, where you will face the dreaded cone. Cube! Coming to your neighborhood dimension soon. Cube! Only available on the Monotech Power Game Unit. Monotech Game Future!
I fucking love that thing. It's so ridiculous. What's your advice for someone who's going through a phase where they're feeling more and more drawn to spirituality, religion? How do I avoid slipping into that black hole? I don't know. I can't say for sure since I'm me and you're you. Man, there's another Simpsons reference. How many is that today, Otaku? Wait, I'm me? I find that just remembering and being centered on the fact that, scientific explanations have things covered. There clearly isn't any practical, supernatural anything out there that could actually be measured. And trying to put that drive for that kind of wonder beyond reality, try to focus it into something personal, something internal, or use it as a creative outlet. Because, look, I'm drawn to all kinds of crazy symbolism. Like, I'm wired to be the kind of guy who should be all over ancient aliens and other stuff. But as curious as I get about the stuff, as interesting as stories and that kind of thing go, I know it's a load. I don't have to necessarily remind myself, but as that little drive of, hey, this is interesting comes in, it does click in there. It's like, hey, remember, Chris, you're just watching this for fun. That's my thing on it. That's the best I can provide as support for the idea. Wasn't ready for cone. That was terrifying. Yeah, the dreaded cone. Cube. That's gonna be a new thing. Now that y'all are aware, cube. If I ever say cube, that's why. Defender of the polyverse. Been atheistic Buddhist for over 20 years, so no advice for moving anywhere else. Trip Fontaine suggests to Gordy, just take the good parts from religion, spirituality, and ignore the rest. You can still learn from the radical love Jesus taught without believing that Jesus was resurrected. Very true. Very true. There's a lot of value I pull from media I like. Stuff in Star Wars, as an example, the classic, Jedi Sith affair, the basic good versus evil standpoint in that, while I acknowledge everything is truly shades of gray, that pure black and white and trying to redeem people is something I value as an example. Um, in a lot of stuff from Guild Wars. More little elements than I can count, just good storytelling, good elements, good human, things in there I can connect with and can pull from in the way some people use religion. Um, that kind of stuff. It's where my brain goes now. Sorry, give me a sec. All right, Deviant has her post ready. Sorry, I had to say 99 to Soot. It's a whole thing because he's very cuddle friendly. I'm a shooty, full on addicted, but there's nothing on the internet. Literally didn't find a single mention anywhere of anyone named E.L. Wallace in relation to British Columbia. Searching for just E.L. Wallace rendered two results. One was a novel with a fictional character called Dr. E.L. Wallace. The other was a Reddit post about someone who supposedly had wandered off into the wilderness, disappeared for 67 years, came back in 1987, saying he's seen a pterodactyl. So how about National History Science of British Columbia? Well, it does exist, or I should say it at least used to exist, but the only things I can find about it from sorry, it's 7 o'clock and old man Yamato is getting into a yawn fest. Our scanned collection of bulletins issued in 1893 and a collection book, Paper and Communications, issued by the Society in 1891. And guess what? The name E.L. Wallace doesn't appear on any of them. Wow. Wow. Why am I not surprised? It gets a wow moment, but that's truly why am I not surprised? Demgo to Otaku X. Do not believe that hairdressers exist because I have long hair. Never see a hairdresser. Not believe the dentist exists because I have a bad tooth and never see a dentist. Let's see, those things exist because you've explicitly seen them, and it is a non-debatable thing where explicit, obvious evidence has happened. Existence of a deity like that has never remotely been presented in any way, shape, or form. All you have is God of the gaps and inferences and stuff like look at the trees. You don't have anything that's just concrete, as it should be for the greatest fact in reality, if true. It shouldn't be something that is at all debatable. Religion is like a smorgasbord. Take the things you like and leave the rest. Yeah. Kind of the whole personal Jesus idea. Your own personal Jesus, someone to be your friend, someone who cares. Honestly, religion is basically an internal construct of a person, and the idea of organized religion is absolute anathema to the very liberties and ideals that we should espouse for. So yeah, it's just fucking crazy to me. What are you saying? Like, I'm in a state where I'm just repeating in my head 24/7, material achievements do not matter, and there has to be a higher calling. It's just kind of exhausting. Well, material achievements do not matter. No, they do matter. Everything you do matters in the moment, in the world that you live in your life, and in the lives of those around you, even people you never directly interact with. I know for an absolute fact there have to be people out there who have interacted with my content and it has brought them some improvement in their lives. And I have never and may never know who they are because they didn't leave a comment, because they didn't, say anything. They didn't reshare anything with a quip of like, "Hey, this video was really good. This article was really good." But I know it provides stuff out there that people can enjoy, do enjoy, find value in some way, and that's enough. Which goes into has to be a higher calling. It's whatever you want it to be. You find your own purpose. You make your own purpose. And that's the incredible thing. And even if you don't know what that is at one given moment or another, I'm just winging it. I just exist and do things. That's my whole MO. That's my purpose. I don't think anything has intrinsically an arbitrary purpose or meaning or anything. We give things meaning, we give things purpose, we give ourselves purpose, and that's fine. We have purpose to make our friends happy, to help those who we think need it, to protect those who need it, to try to make the world better in whatever way we can. In my case, one of those things just happens to be mocking Kent Hovind. And this has become a big thing I do, but it's not the most important thing I do to me. It really isn't. But I devote the time to it because other people have value in it and I value other people. So if they take something good from it and I can help make their day better, their lives better, then I owe it to everyone who may enjoy this content to produce it. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Could have been a rambling idiot for all that, but what else is new? Justin, this was the third stream today. Final level, Sphere. So I'm gonna go straight to Korean Zen. A lot more Korean meetups. Fuck, I wish I was in an area that was heavily Korean. I mean, down the street from where I used to live, there's a Korean church. That's kind of cool. It's nice seeing Hangul on a billboard. Very, very pleasant. I love seeing written Korean. Higher callings love, believing that you should intensely love every human being. That's the kernel of truth in most religions. God's love. That's what I believe. And see, saying it in with that context completely changes what God is love sounds like. And I can jive with that. Totally. Gordy, that could be the case in a sense. That does track. Um, I've kind of felt that way myself in some ways. It's weird. It's very weird. Yamato, yeah. Like, see, there was another one. Happens when I talk a lot. It really does too. It's weird. Hey, Stacy, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's see. Who else? What else? Lemmy doll treetop for the Christmas tree. Nice. Yeah, I mean the feeling. It's about feeling worth is what I think's happening. Feeling a value of self. This could honestly just kind of be depression doing the thing it does. I don't know your life, your history, or anything, and I'm not going to make any presumptions one way or the other. Um, but I can understand, if there's something that may be causing something, even, just that feeling that it can begin to push you into those things. Try to find something you enjoy and just go for it. That's my take anyway. I hope I'm helping. Like a malfunctioning robot, you no longer feel you're really worth early in your life. But a malfunctioning robot would still keep on trying. That's the thing. But then again, that's because it's a machine. It can only do what it's programmed to do, though. You can keep trying and do something different. I'm not saying you necessarily should do something different, but again, I'm supportive of the idea of trying something new in a sense. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Gordy, hey, much love. You definitely focus on you. If you're not in the Discord and you are on Discord, you can join. It links in the description. I made sure to update all my video descriptions today, so I know the link is fresh. We're all chatting in there regularly. Where it's a pretty goofy little place. You might have fun. I don't know. Just depends on if that's up your wheelhouse. And yeah, brain implosion energy. Grave zero, thoughts on head empty. Drinking, drinking, drink until you drop. Deviant chiming in with Gordy. The way you're describing it sounds like you're under a lot of stress for whatever reason. Perhaps things you're not fully acknowledging as stressful. We'll let her continue with get your response out. I just keep on yawning. Literally waiting on Deviant. Let's see. 2-3. So, if I were to give you a recommendation, it'd be seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with seeking help. They won't judge you. It's their job to help. They get paid for it. Sought professional help first time in 2002 when I should have done it way sooner. Needing some support isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually the opposite. It's a show of strength. Yeah, that was me in 2020. It didn't solve all the problems, but it helped a lot of stuff. I feel way, way better and have for many, many years. I feel like myself finally. At the end of the day, you matter and your well being is important. Oh, yeah. And I'm sure the rest of the chat second that. Just take care of yourself, Cordy. Like I said, Discord's available if that's up your wheelhouse. If not, that's cool too. But right, everyone, it is a little after 7. Yeah, Zumi goes to a therapist twice a month. There you go. I'm on freaking two medications to handle stuff. So yeah, nothing wrong with it. Hell, we need more of it. That would solve a lot of the problems in the world. People having little chemical imbalances, balanced out. It help. But yeah, so 7:17. I'm gonna hop on Guild Wars and finish off things for the night. Seriously, Discord link? Fuck. Okay. Okay, hang on. Let me generate a fresh one. I just have to go edit that. Damn. There we go. There's one that's fresh for a little while. Guess I'll go through and edit every single dang description again. Getting real tired of having to do that. But yeah. Entire concept just makes me feel sick. It's way too over advertised and it kind of devalued the entire prospect. I used to consider it, but goddamn. Now I can understand. I can understand definitely. Especially Gen Z and millennial groups. Yeah. all I can say is making the choice definitely helped in the case of seeking professional help, because it was all just a chemical imbalance affecting my psyche. That was all those years, and could have just been fixed if someone had noticed something sooner. There, you're welcome, Justin. There too, and take psych meds. You can't raw dog 2025 America. Yeah. Yeah, and I know, given that for me it was 2020, I don't think COVID necessarily played a role because it actually didn't affect me beyond just concern of being sick my own self. My life was not affected much at all. Hell, it was made a little better by it, honestly. But the Trump years, the first few years, really took their toll. Just some other stuff. Yeah, that's the other thing is Otaku here says they're personally better having stopped therapy. I did therapy and I found it to not really help at all. It just made me focus on stuff more. Um, that's why eventually I went the medication route, which worked way better. Um, but give stuff a try and see how that affects you, how that goes. That's my recommendation. At least give stuff a shot. Uh, Chances of any harm coming are minimal. There's maximum reward for minimal risk. And yeah, nobody says you have to start. If you start therapy, you can't stop. Yep, no obligation. Cancel anytime. uh, just know you're loved. Don't see you too often around here. Always happy to see you. Happy to see everybody. Everybody. And yeah, both routes, therapy with medication. That can sometimes work. It depends on the individual. Just want you to feel better. We all do. And I hate to leave on such serious stuff, but yeah, I'm reaching a point where I'm going to start fading soon, so should probably begin to pack up for the night. Again, let me post that Discord link one more time for anyone who may want it. And that is going to be that. Just again, much love to everybody. You're awesome. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to have more fun tomorrow. Beginning of a new month. See how things go. Take care, everybody.